Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash Tales from Retail. In today's episode, customer calls a coworker at home. Angry customer throws his own stuff around in a tantrum. Why are you suspecting me? The girl who bought juice for her 21st birthday. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Customer calls a coworker at home. This was something an old coworker told me. Just a bit of back info. My coworker was considered the best in her department. She knew about every product and how to do certain jobs properly. A lot of customer would come to the store to ask for her advice. But one couple took it a little too far. She told me she was at home, having a day off when her phone rang. When she picked up, the person on the other end identified themselves as one of her customers, saying they looked her up on the phone book because they wanted to ask her advice on something they were doing. She snapped back saying, "You realize it's my day off, and you're calling me at my home. It's my day off, I shouldn't have to think or worry about work." She said the customer kinda sputtered, realizing they were wrong to call her. She said she'll answer their question, but doesn't want them phoning her home again. So a few days later, the couple came in with a gift basket as apology, which she accepted, but reminded them her time off is for herself. That she's not a helpline people can call anytime. I had a similar thing happen to me. During the early days of the pandemic, I worked at a high-end sporting goods store where it wasn't uncommon for customers to drop thousands of dollars in an afternoon. Since we were closed, 'cause the entire world was, we were getting bombarded with emails. Our assistant at the time was basically as good as useless and knew nothing about the equipment we sold, despite playing the sport forever, and would just pawn everything off to the sales staff to do because she had no idea how to answer the questions. One customer emails the store and wants a very unique, very expensive product, so she CCs me on the email and tells the customer I will call him about his request. First of all, that means I am giving out my personal cell number to someone, which I did not want to do. Second, I wasn't being paid to do this since we were shut down, and why she thought it was a good idea was beyond me. I don't want to air my dirty laundry over the email, so I just bite the bullet. Worst mistake ever. The guy was unbelievably needy and would call me repeatedly if I didn't answer the first time. After 2 calls, would immediately hit me with a text or 2 asking about where the product was. I told them first that we are obviously in a pandemic, in case you hadn't noticed, and nothing is functioning right now properly. Second, you want basically one-off custom equipment made. It's not like the company can turn around and make it for you overnight. From that point on, every single question he had was a phone call, even after me telling him to email me, because I only work once a week and I am busy with school and teaching and taking classes. I finally stopped answering his calls and texts after I knew the equipment had been delivered, resorting him to email me like I had been asking for weeks/months. I had something like this happen. I am the employee who handles everything barbecue related. One of my coworkers had a customer that was insistent customer that wanted an answer to their question that second. They gave out my personal cell phone number to the customer. I answered and told the customer it was 1. My day off. 2. I don't have my work computer with my tools for looking up parts and pricing. 3. Would be more than happy to help them when I was at work. When I was back at work, I had a meeting with the boss and coworker regarding this and spelled out that under no circumstances will my personal cell number ever be given to customers again, as it is an invasion of my privacy, and with the bill being paid out of my pocket, I would like my privacy to be respected going on. Told them that if the store want me on call, then I need the store to pay for my phone and pay for my time that I do work like this out of the store. This is why I always inwardly roll my eyes when customers ask for my full name. There is no way I'm giving them enough information to track me down outside of work. That was the best possible ending. Coming in with gift baskets and apologies is better than I'm going to report you for not helping a customer, or your job is always to help a customer, even if you aren't clocked in. This is why I have a throwaway number, prepaid SIM card, for those who want to contact me from work. I have a phone with a dual SIM. I just disable that SIM card when it's my day off so no one can bother me. Meanwhile, my main SIM with a subscription to my carrier, I only share that number with my very close friends and family. I had a similar experience a few years ago. I was on a road trip with my then girlfriend. We were at a rest stop, and I get a call from a number I don't recognize, so I let it go to voicemail, figuring if it was important, they'd leave a message. They did. It was a patient calling to tell us that they wouldn't be able to make their appointment. The way they had my number was I had to use my personal cell phone to call them one time because our office lost power, so we had no phones or other way to communicate with patients to tell them. I quickly called back and explained that I was not at the office, and that they have to call the office directly every time they wish to cancel an appointment from then on. I could file that as an honest mistake at least. Doctor's office called from this number, it's in the recent calls, must be the number to call them back at. Wow. When this started I thought it was going to say someone at work gave out her phone number. Nowadays that would be the way to get her phone number, and I wouldn't put it past a manager to do that if a really pushy customer forced the issue. I used to work for a credit union, and I would have people walk up to me in the mall or in a store and ask me about products if they would qualify for a loan while I was shopping, or if I was working a second job. I never had anyone call me at home, but definitely while I was out and about and I didn't have access to pertinent information, like a credit report. I was a job coach for people with disabilities. For some reason 2 of the males I coached thought that I was now their girlfriend, despite the engagement ring on my hand, and proceeded to call or text me whenever they felt like it. One would text me at 1 or 2 in the morning. Telling their parents did no good since many times the parents feel that since they're disabled that they can't be corrected. So I had to start ignoring them. One got kicked out of our program for the 3-strike thing, and because of his obsessive texting me. If you don't show for your job, after job number 3, you get booted. And this dude knew better, he was just spoiled by his parents, so no consequences for anything ever. When I did retail, part of my job was to make deliveries. I often used my personal phone to call customers before I made the deliveries, so a lot of them got my number. I've been out of that business since September, and last week a customer called me. I don't think they knew it was my personal phone, so I wasn't too upset, so I gave them the number to the store so they could talk to my former coworkers. Angry customer throws his own stuff around in a tantrum. TL.dr, customer wants a refund for an item bought in our reuse section, which clearly states it's not refundable, and throws a tantrum by throwing said item onto the floor. For context, I work in a well-known furniture chain, and while we have a great refund service, we don't do refund on items and furniture sold through our reuse section. So this happened to a colleague of mine the other day, while I was at the register and she at the self-checkout service, keeping an eye on the customers in case they need assistance. While she was doing her part, a customer approached her from behind, wanting to get a refund for an item. She told him she couldn't help him, and he had to go to the customer service that also handles refunds. I just was there and they didn't want to take it back. She then noticed what he wants to return. I'm sorry, but we don't do refunds on furniture from our reuse section. I did not know that. You have to take it back. It says so at the section, so it's not our fault you didn't see that a refund isn't possible. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. She then turns her back on him, as to say she's done with talking to him. After all, she can't help him, even if she wanted to, as we don't do refunds at the checkout. He gets angry and kicks his furniture off the cart, which of course caused everyone to jump a little. He then starts picking it up, but when he sees that she doesn't pay him any attention, he throws it onto the floor again. At this point another colleague calls for a manager to deal with this man and tells it to the other colleague. The man then approaches my colleague he spoke to first and comes off as threatening. My colleague proceeds to tell him that a manager is on their way to help him. He seems angry that my colleague isn't taking him seriously, but settles to wait for the manager. When the manager arrives, she too tells the man what he has been told from everyone. That he can't get a refund, and that it says so in the section, and it's not our responsibility that he didn't read the signs about refund from this section. It ended with him leaving with his furniture, no refund. Seems we at the checkout now has to explain to each customer buying something from the reuse section that it's not refundable. All because some customers can't bother to read. All rules were created because of some idiot. This is that idiot. When I was younger, many morning radio DJs would have a segment on their shows about dumb laws. Something like you cannot ride an ostrich backwards while drinking a milkshake in the middle of a rainstorm. This is an example, not real. Everyone would laugh at such a dumb thing, and then move on. As I got older and learned that laws are reactive and not proactive, in other words, like you said, somebody had to do it first. Now I want to hear the story behind the law. Who was riding an ostrich backwards? Where did they get the ostrich? Why were they drinking a milkshake and why were they doing it in a rainstorm? I think that would be a funnier and more interesting story than just reading the law that came from the incident. There is always the kid who sets off fireworks in their hand. There are those who, even when told by cashiers, don't pay attention, and still want refund for final sale items. A store I worked at had the return policy on both sides of the receipt and on signs throughout the store. One of my greatest joys on the job was when an angry customer wanted to return something that wasn't returnable and, when I refused, snapped, "Where is your return policy?" I showed her on the receipt. She continued to rant, "Nobody looks at the receipt. You should have a sign by the registers." I smiled and gestures to the signs by each register. She was so angry. Ha ha ha. I honestly will feel sorry for people who miss the signs. But when they were told outright, I don't feel sorry anymore. I think I work at the same company you do, lol. I try to remind customers that the reuse items are final sale, and most of the time they're like, I know. But the one time I don't mention it, the customer comes back angry trying to return it, claiming they didn't know because the cashier didn't say anything. SMH. But those rules don't apply to him. He's extra special and didn't read the signs. Yes, he did, so you have to make an exception for his special as. I hate it when adults throw tantrums like angry toddlers when they're told no. Especially to the people who have absolutely no power to change the policy. It's like, dude, I'm just an hourly employee. If I actually had the power to change or even make exceptions to company policy, I wouldn't be here. LOL at him throwing stuff on the floor and then picking it up for another chuck when no one pays attention to him. What a toddler. Can someone explain to me what a reuse section is? I have no idea what it could be. Fair question. In our reuse section, we sell furniture that have been used by other customers or have been part of our exhibition. The furniture either have small faults, scratches, or signs of being used before, so all furniture there are sold with a discount. I hope this clear it up for you. She then turns her back on him, as to say she's done with talking to him. That is incredibly rude. And potentially dangerous, as the customer already wasn't happy. I probably explained that poorly. She told him she couldn't help him further, and there he had to go to the customer service. She was still keeping an eye on him while returning to her work. It wasn't like she didn't know there was a threat, but sometimes you have to physically show PPL you're done with them. I wouldn't turn my back in case he attacked me. Why are you suspecting me? I work at a gas station, usually at night. Obviously you get a lot of interesting customers round that time, but yesterday was one of the worst so far. He buys 2 packs of cigarettes and hands me €50. Now we are required to check if all notes above 50 are real with one of those little machines. I check it, he says it's real, don't worry. I jokingly answer by saying or maybe a really good print. I usually do so since a lot of customers try to be funny just as him. Problem was, he was serious. He starts ranting about how rude I was for suspecting him, and that it's always the Germans, I live in Germany, being suspected nowadays, whereas the immigrants get through with everything. I try to talk him down, but at this point I already had my finger on the silent alarm. Thankfully I didn't have to use it, but ended up talking him down and throwing him out. I hate people. Methinks thou protests too much, sir. If you explain its company policy and they can't understand that, then arguing isn't going to change their mind. All you can do is kill them with kindness and forget about them. If they complain to management and management is decent, they'll back you up. If they don't have your back, time to find another employer. The loudest people are usually the ones with something to hide. The girl who bought juice for her 21st birthday. Kind of a short story, but here it is. I was running self-checkout today when a girl called me over. She showed me her ID before scanning wine. Glancing at the ID, I see it's her 21st birthday. She scans the wine and nothing pops up asking for ID. Upon giving a closer look, I see that it's actually sparkling grape juice in a glass bottle, the kind you'd buy a kid on New Year's Eve. I pretended to scan the ID, told her thank you, and let her think she was really drinking alcohol for her 21st birthday. I mean, this is sad, funny, and adorable at the same time. Though I still love those sparkling grape juice in the glass bottle. Not just for kids. But you always put them at the children's table with wine glasses, so they feel like part of the adults. Oh, I love that stuff. I'm well into adulthood too. She doesn't get a buzz even after drinking the whole bottle, so she figures she can hold her liquor really well. Next time, she chugs down a couple bottles of the real stuff and winds up with alcohol poisoning. Or she might experience a placebo effect and be like, wow, I'm like so wasted. Had a party once in my early 20s. I was the first in my group of friends to move out, so my place tended to be the place to go. A friend of a friend, Tracy, came over with a bottle of wine she had stolen from her stepdad. Drank the whole bottle over the course of the evening, getting progressively louder and seemingly drunker. Cleaning up the bottles the next morning, I discovered that what she had stolen was FRE non-alcoholic wine. Purely psychosomatic. There was a Honeymooners episode about that same scenario. Ralph and Norton got drunk on grape juice. She still wins. Sparkling grape juice is delicious. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.